Justin, let's talk about Xenoblade. Before we talk about the news, let's talk about Xenoblade. Get this all off, on the table. What do you think, man? You're a Xenoblade fan. This is my first exposure to the series. How are you liking it?
I like it a lot. It is Xenoblade.
Is it? Okay.
I think where you're at in the game, I'm about 20 hours in.
Yeah, okay.
So pretty far. And the game doesn't become really like an open world RPG game until like hour 12.
Yeah. I've picked up on that, believe it or not.
And that was not the case with the other ones. Like,
okay.
This is like a little bit of like it was a very linear start for me. And just it being so linear, it kind of it's not that it drags. It's just I wanted that open worldiness a little bit more. I wanted to like do quests. I wanted to like get to know some of the other characters and like get the world building a little bit better than what I got. But I mean, for the most part, other than the slow start, at the point I'm in the game now, it is just a Xenoblade game in the best way possible. And I think, is it one of my favorite Xenoblades? That might be up for debate later. It's definitely drawing me in more than Xenoblade 1. Xenoblade 2 is just special for me, so it's hard for me to have something that top that. But what are your just impressions of? Because it is like similar to all the other Xenoblade games in terms of combat, storytelling, that kind of thing. There are some major differences, but it's still pretty similar to that other formula. What do you like? What do you don't like?
I guess here's the problem that I'm running into. I'm having a hard time articulating what I like and don't like because I don't know what the game is yet. So for reference, I'm about 10 hours in, I think. I got to the part in Chapter 2 where like now I can like sort of switch classes up a little bit, and I'm in this big desert open environment that I got to run to some place that's like, I don't know, fucking forever away. And like I feel like, okay, so now the game's really getting started. But I'm even then, like I'm not even totally sure if like all the systems and mechanics have been introduced. I imagine they haven't. There's a lot to keep track of. And I talked about this in when I played Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, that like that game will tutorialize at you for about an hour of just you clicking through text boxes without actually giving you the practice you need to like understand what you're playing. This game has a similar amount of tutorialization, but it's spread over about 10 hours, which means that you do get to have like the mechanics and stuff like actually like cemented in your brain before you actually start like amending them and talking about like more complex ways to use mechanics and stuff like that, which I can appreciate, but it does make this feel like starting it is like kind of like really dull.
Yeah. I mean, so I really wished that by the time you got to this podcast today, you finished Chapter 2.
Am I close to the end of it?
There's like a moment that it really picks up. I think you might be with that hourage. I think you're pretty close to it.
Okay.
It depends how many like side thing, like how like many.
I'm trying to find a bunch of
you're fighting on the way there, but
how many battles should I be fighting? Because there's guys all over.
You should battle them until they stop automatically going to you, because generally that means that you're a high enough level above them that they're not interested in you. But as long as they're attacking you, you should attack them just so you level yourself up appropriately.
Okay, because I've been fighting a lot of them, which like I don't mind. I think the combat's kind of fun. I do like it. There's a lot to it in a way that was a little overwhelming, but I do like how it sort of eases you into it by just like, okay, control one character, and like here's how to play one character, and here's how to play a different type of character, and then it's like now play a 6, which does make it kind of like it does get a little chaotic. Would you agree? When there's like 6 characters all doing their own thing, and it's like, who am I controlling?
Yeah.
And what am I doing? Who's attacking what? I do like the I've seen these in other games too. I do like the like lines that connect the character that's being targeted to the enemy, and then also like the color of the line determines like, hey, is this the type of character who should be getting hit a lot? So that you can switch over to like a tank and be like, no, come fight me. Yeah.
So a couple of the good things about this game that I think like any Xenoblade game has these minus X, because we don't talk about that one. That's because it's not like necessarily like in the timeline the same way. It's a different type of game.
I was gonna say, like, is there anything in this that like?
So
I'm
assuming yes, there might be. This takes place after 1 and 2. So like at like I don't know how far after, but probably significantly. The thing I love about these games it's like speaking of visual novels and games, there are so many cutscenes in here, but like that's not a bad thing, because they get like just super epic, and I think you're about to get to the anime as hell cutscene in the game. Like there's like legitimately like this moment. It's just like you're watching like the culmination of an arc of an anime, and it's really cool. And they get those so many times throughout the game and the series in general.
The choreography in the cutscenes is really nice.
Yeah.
Especially like I noticed that when they when you first meet up with the other three and you guys have this fight in front of this guy who's like in front of like a bomb or something, like the whole like initial inciting incident for the game. That cutscene where all 6 of them are fighting each other, I thought was like really great.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I definitely agree. I'm not like done with it. Like I'm gonna like keep playing it because I like do want to see what the big deal is, you know. But I think I just am ready to be to the part where it's like finally like the training wheels are off and it's like now here's what the game is.
Yeah,
you know?
and at the end of chapter 2, I think you have at least enough of the major combat knowledge and a lot of the mechanics that I think you're in a good spot at that point.
Okay.
But like to me, I think this game improves a lot on some of the other games. You said it's busy to look at. It's easier than the other ones.
What was happening in the other ones? You have like 100 party members?
They just do some things that are smarter in terms of like telling you what's on the field. Like even as simple as having 2 colors for the lines that connect you to the enemy, one for the shield characters, one for the other characters. It like simplifies that much more clearly. Also, like how characters have their little circle around them to show you like where area of effects and stuff will work. That. Like they do a good job of like telling you with that language better in this game than other ones. It's still loud. The repetitive dialogue stuff, it's annoying in the open world and after battles, and it can be annoying in a battle, but like listening to what the characters say, they basically are announcing their moves. They're like Pokemon, like when they're like doing stuff. So like if you're listening to their moves, like you'll hear someone say break, and then you're like, oh god, someone just initiated break. I got to use my topple ability and like to like get your like combos and stuff going. So like listening to that stuff can actually be helpful in clearing the noise a little bit. And in this game, in the middle of combat, you can switch characters, which opens up a lot more possibilities for actually like going about a combat encounter in the moment. In I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I forget if you can control anyone other than Rex, but like the characters each have 3 potential swords that connect with them. So like there's a lot in this game, but I think there can be like a potential of like 9 characters that are being active at the same time in Xenoblade Chronicles that you don't have control over. So a lot of it's just like automatic. So you're just like hoping that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But the thing that gets really cool that I don't know if you've gotten to this part yet, the class system. Have you gotten to the different classes?
Yes, I got to where like they all switched classes.
Yeah, and that is a really cool thing because it just keeps your combat fresh, because basically every character has its own individual class, and you get to a point in the game where you can assign other characters' classes to the other characters, assuming they've been unlocked. And usually you unlock them by just like being in a party with someone else who has that class unlocked for long enough, and eventually it opens up after a while. Or the other way is you do these hero missions, and hero missions are when you meet another character that has a unique class that you can eventually recruit to be your 8th party member or 7th party member. And also, once you unlock them, you get that class that gets paired with one of your other characters.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So there's so much more strategy in this game, and I find myself in this game more than any other Xenoblade, constantly switching what class I'm playing, what my movesets are, and they've streamlined all of that stuff to a way that makes it really fun. And it's that like that like OCD part of my brain that like I gotta fill these bars up before I move on to the next thing, and I gotta try to maximize to get as many possible 10 level rank classes as possible on as many characters as possible, that it just, even if the game itself is a little bit repetitive at times with the combat, the actual like planning for how you're going to make the best character is enough to keep me going through that. So I'm not just fighting another demon dragon for the 50th time. I'm fighting a demon dragon with a new class to try to unlock this class for my other characters. It's very reminiscent to what you do in Fire Emblem, both in Three Houses and Three Hopes, in terms of trying to give your main characters as many classes as possible to give them more upgrades and more moves and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But I mean, your critique is valid. I think this is going to turn a lot of people off who come to this game for the first time. If they're like, all right, I hear a lot of good things about Xenoblade, and then it's a linear 10-hour story beginning part, that really kind of hurts it, because that's not the best part of the game when it's linear. One more thing this game does pretty well is they have like training tutorials that you can go back to. So like they'll show you a menu and they'll like walk you through a lot of the main mechanics. But once you do that, they unlock a special combat encounter that you can go to, like a VR kind of thing, where you actually practice like skills that they've just talked about, but also sometimes like it's some advanced skills that they might not talk about, like the whole like break, topple, daze kind of stuff. They explain that in more in depth and actually have you play it and practice it instead of just reading about it.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
and that's what I struggle with when it's like, okay, read about this idea, and then it's like, when do I use it? Like, how do I even? What was that about? You know.
But yeah, it's more Xenoblade for me. So I'm to the point where I just feel like I'm at home, and the hours just go away when you're playing this game. I don't know how. I know I've only played this game for 20 hours, but it seems like every time I start, it's been like 7 hours in my house, and I just don't understand like where I am.
Sure.